Buongiorno a tutti, è un piacere essere qui con voi. Ringrazio, ovviamente, ringraziamenti di rito. Il primo ringraziamento lo faccio a Diane, che poi vi sto per presentare, past president e consigliere di amministrazione dell'International Water Association. Ringrazio Terranova per averci invitato e per organizzare il Utility Forum. Quest'anno purtroppo lo facciamo in remoto, non abbiamo il piacere di essere in presenza e speriamo veramente di poter ritornare a una normalità che tutti desideriamo. Ma il nostro mondo, il mondo soprattutto dell'acqua, va avanti e con piacere vi porto e vi porgo un'intervista esclusiva e particolare al past president e al consigliere di amministrazione dell'International Water Association. Sapete bene che io qui parlo come segretario generale dell'Associazione Idrotecnica Italiana, ho un passato nel mondo delle utility e nel mondo della ricerca e io ho conosciuto Diane già nel 2009 e lei era responsabile delle attività di ricerca di uno dei gruppi più importanti del mondo, del gruppo Suez. Poi nel 2011 è diventata responsabile di tutte le attività di gestione del servizio idrico dell'Europa e del Nord Africa ed altro. Ha particolari medaglie importanti sul suo petto. Lei ha fondato il VSSTP, quindi la ricerca è stata sempre un gran motore delle attività di Diane, che le hanno anche conseguito la Legion d'Onore. Diane parla un po' di italiano, quindi sa che sto parlando bene di lei. Ha lasciato Suez 3 anni fa. Dopo aver lasciato Suez è stata nominata presidente dell'International Water Association e al momento sia membro del board dell'International Water Association, della National Academy of Technology of France e se dovessi dire tutte le cose che ha fatto e di cui ancora si occupa Diane, ci metterei troppo e non voglio perdere questo tempo e lo voglio dedicare a lei. L'intervista sarà in inglese, quindi avrete i miei sottotitoli. And since this moment on, Diane, welcome. I was just introducing you. I'm so pleased to see, unfortunately not meet, but at least see you again. And I just introduce you, and I said that people can just click on internet to you because the list of the things that we have done is so long, that is really too long to describe. But I would like immediately to give you the floor to describe us IWA, of which you was president since yesterday, and you are still in the board, and the sustainability principle of IWA. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. It's really a pleasure to be with you. Unfortunately, I won't be able to speak Italian. I mean, I understand it a little, but it's too difficult for me. Nice to be with the Italian colleagues because I spent some time in Italy and I really appreciate. So it's a pleasure to be with you. IWA, maybe to tell you a little bit rapidly what it is. It's of course a completely international water association, an NGO. It's a British charity. It has more than 8,000 members around the world. 130 countries, and we have a governance which is interesting because the governing members are the head of the national association. So we have one of our governing member coming from Italy, from UTIL Italia, and it's very important because the philosophy of IWA is that we manage and we do our work at the international. But we consider that we work with the national association for 2 reasons. First, you can't be everywhere. Second, each country has its own particularity, and it's very important that in the water that we understand that. And of course, IWA can exchange, but can't be completely adapted. And third, because of the language. it's very important when we want to share knowledge to be able to share it not just in English, but in the national language. And that is something that the National Association can do. So that is very important. To go back to IWA, it's an association which merged scientific people and field people 20 years ago out of two organizations. So we have more than 60-year heritage. We connect scientists and practitioners. It's really the particularity. And that is very important because innovation comes most of time thanks to scientists, but we need practitioners to be sure that we put it in place. And maybe we also help scientists to know where to work and on which field. So the connection is really important. And of course, one of the objectives is to push innovation, to share best practice, and to do that through our specialist group or our congress, our meeting, our web seminar now, or since 2 years, we use that too, okay? You asked me what is the vision of IWA. I will probably come back on that, but we have pushed a vision on what we call the water-wise cities. Of course, our members are mainly professional coming from utilities or research, but we consider that we have to share that with the cities. The cities are very important. We still believe, of course, that rural areas are important, but the cities have to develop and push the water-wise vision. And the water-wise vision is around 4 pillars, I would say. First, the utilities themselves. They need to work on regenerative water services. They need to work on reuse, on all that. But it's really important, and we have principles connected to that. We also work a lot, and we consider that the urban design is key. So the urban design comes from the mixture of people, of specialists of water, but also city organization, architect, because the water is more and more important. And of course, you know that in Italy, because when you travel around Italy, the role of the river is key in a city. So the urban design is also very important. So we have principles around the urban design. We consider that the cities have an obligation to be connected with their basin organization, because of course the city is not alone, and all the organization around the global cycle of water is key. So the connection between the city and the basin is a key point, and city must take care and must connect with the global organization. And last but not least, it's very important, we consider also principle around the water-wise communities. More and more, we consider that the clients, the communities, need to be connected to have a vision. And we will come back probably on the role of regulation and the way to do that. We clearly consider that utilities and has to be connected to the end users and to discuss and to do explanation. So there are 4 really pillars of, and the principles are describing. I really, Roberto, think that this principle, it's a 6-page document, which is important because, yeah.
And in fact, I would like to, to stress from what you are saying, people to go to the site of the IWA and to get the presentation of water-wise city that we can better translate in Italia-wise as consapevolezza. So the water count, the matter that we have the understanding of the real understanding of water. Thank you very much, Diane, for that.
On that point, I would be very happy if your organization look at that, because the document is free of use. But I think one of the challenge would be to translate it, and the best people who can translate it are the Italian association. So I think it would be a really something important, because when you have a document in your own language, you understand much better, because sometimes the English is not so clear. I mean, it would help. It's only 6 pages, so nothing huge to commit to. And then gives the opportunity, if you have an international connection, you can discuss because you have your translation. So you can say, well, I would like to work with the city of Amsterdam on that point, or I would like to work with the city of Greece on that point, and then you can connect. It has been translated in 10 different languages, such as Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Romanian, which is not so far from Italian.
Thank you for that. I believe that is something that we look after absolutely, because it's important. I was reading this and it's really important. And just for that, I would like to make a further question to you, Diane, double actually, because you just mentioned, I was mentioning before, because Diane was also having an Italian experience, because she was board member of ACEA for 2011, if I'm not wrong, up to 2018, something like that. So you was acquainted with the Italian situation and that. So my first question is, what is, in your view and with the understanding of WA or IWA, with the important role of putting together the science, innovation, and practices activity, what are the global trend in the water sector in terms of regulation, science, expectation, all those things? And the second is a question that you can imagine is mostly related to your activity in innovation, but also my activity, that I spend my life with WRC, with innovation, with the Water Research Center. What is the trend to overcome the digital divide that we also have in the waters? How the digitalization, all those processes related to getting the best information out of the data can help the water management, the water wise, and all those principles.
Yeah, the global trend, I think I can share it, but it's evident that climate change has really the risk of the climate change, in fact, and the risk connected to that, especially in water, has changed the vision of the water business. And that's why WaterWise is really a good support. But if I want to sum up what are the big challenges, we know that we will have less water resources, at least during summer. Maybe you can have lots of water in winter, but we will have some
maybe too much.
Yeah, where you don't have all the traditional resources, while people still need water. And that is very important, because we really need to organize again our vision of the water around that. We can very probably live with less water every day. There is no doubt about that, and there are lots of reflection around that. Globally in the world, cities are still growing. It's not so much in the case in Europe, where I think even the IT system helps you to work not always in the capital. I mean, it probably not so, but globally in the world, there is still a big booming on cities, and that has to be taken in account, which means infrastructure for water and wastewater. What is complex is that we know that things are going to be different, but we don't know exactly what will be the impact of the climate change at the local level. Globally, we know that there will be big changes, but it's very difficult to know how much rain you will have in Rome or in Pisa. So the difficulties, you have to build on that without having the exact vision. So there is a lot of uncertainty, which means that you have to make infrastructure knowing that you don't know exactly. So what is probably wise is to work first on how can I reduce my consumption. And you said about IT system. We are completely convinced that thanks to the new system, the IT system, the possibility to know where we are, how much water we're consuming, you really can manage it much better. What has to be improved is, first, it helps a lot the utilities to manage, to anticipate, to know where are the leaks, where you can do, and I come back next to leaks. but it would be also a very important means for the consumer. Most of consumers have no idea on how much water they consume, except when they receive the bill, but it's always expressed in cubic meter. They have, if you ask most of consumer what is a cubic meter, most of the time it doesn't know exactly. So I think the smart meters, I know that it is still sometimes expensive, but I don't believe you can really put your consumer inside the company if you don't give the information. One of the risks, and that is a challenge, is that if you give the information, you could have a reduction of consumption. And of course, we all know the impact on the bill and the equilibrium. So yeah, it's very difficult for utilities to have a strategical vision on reducing water. I do agree. But I think you have an advantage in Italy. You have been developing a very good regulation. You have regulators, you have the water regulation. And very often I cite Italy. Of course, you have regulation in England, you have a good regulation in Portugal, but you have been developing a regulation. And without a regulator, you can't find the global equilibrium between reducing consumption, avoiding wasting water at home, avoiding, of course, wasting water in the network. And you still have to fight on that in Italy, as I know.
We do.
Yeah, but without a regulation which takes into account the global vision that reducing the consumption of our water would be a good thing, you won't get, because you would have some problems. Okay, so I think it's a very important challenge, and metering, IT system, information system are key for finding the new equilibrium and finding the right and fair equilibrium. And I know that the regulator, I met him 2 years ago physically. It was nice because it was still physically. And we discussed what is the right consumption. Is it 40 liters per day per person? Is it 100? I mean, what is right? We still have to define, but what is clear is that people can be very happy with less water. And by reducing their water consumption, if possible, firstly, on the hot water, which means showers or bath or things like that, you have 2 impacts, because in the water you have, of course, the energy for delivering the water, but you have the energy for making it hot. So if people reduce their water, they have 2 things. They are more resilient. We develop a resilient utility, but we have also mitigation. We have an impact on the energy use. So it's really, I would say, probably the more strategic vision, although it's still very challenging.
Yeah, very challenging. And last but not least, DIANE, as you know, that one of the major problems of the non-accounted for water, so the water leakage, the water losses, is not only the cost of the water and the energy associated, but just the detriment, the serious detriment of your network, because any leakage is a problem that is growing and growing and growing up to a bust, up to a collapse, up to a problem. Anyway, thank you, DIANE. I believe that you say very good messages. I know that after this interview in the seminar, there will be the floor for the regulator, for the association, for the local regulator. And I'm sure that what you said has not been prepared, you know, for sure. It is quite important. So I leave to you with a hello to the Italian people that will listen to you and see you in this webinar.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure, and I hope to be able to come back one day physically, but I think it will be soon. Yeah,
we hope so. It must be soon. Thank you, DIANE. Thank you.
A good seminar. Thank you, Robert.
Thanks to Terranova to have organized this, and again, thank you very much.
Bye.